Oh, we can't hear my music. Can you hear my music?
No, I can't hear your music.
Can you hear music? I don't know why the music isn't playing. There it is. There it is. Only Wednesday. It's going to drop the beat, so we just blew that whole dang thing.
That was the best podcast intro I think we've ever actually done.
That's why you know this show is actually live when we do it, because stuff like that happens as
we don't cut music
winding down. As we're winding down the last few seconds of the intro, I realized I had the wrong sound bank up for my trigger pad, and I button panicked. And I just started hitting buttons, and I didn't have my volume slider. But either way, it's Wednesday. We've already been working for several hours. Today we're talking about new EPA regulations finally being announced after all the build up to them. And don't get tropes up too high. Capital One's dropping their floor planning. Yes, they are. That's kind of an interesting one. And electric burritos. So that's going to be a thing. We'll save the burritos for the end.
Electric burritos.
Kelly comments on the live stream. Got to have the music. I know. It's like we're not even starting a podcast unless there's some music going on.
It's okay. Hey, look, I haven't had my last cup of coffee, but I will make you jealous real quick because you see where
dude. Kyle's holding up a cup that says crema on it, and if you don't know, it's like the best coffee place in Nashville and arguably the East Coast.
Yes.
I got to go there once. But thanks for doing that.
I've seriously had one better cup of coffee, and it was in LA at Go Get 'em Tiger. Other than that, nothing better. So
wow,
just calling it. Just I know a lot of people out there with coffee snobby, but
there's people are fighting over these comments. Easy and every day, but it's a matter of perspective. Oh man, we're already working hard. My hat's already backwards. It's only 9:12 Eastern, and my hat is backwards already. Meaning we're working. We're going to be in Tampa in less than 3 weeks. If you are going to Digital Dealer or going to be in Tampa or around Tampa, please mark your calendar to come hang with us on May 2nd. It is a Tuesday night. It is a Tuesday night. And we're going to premiere the show that we've been making, that we just filmed the pilot, that we have a name for now.
We have a name, Paul. What?
Tell my goodness. Tell the name.
The name is More Than Cars. Because there's a lot of things that blank, 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 more than cars. We say love people more than you love cars a lot, and it just expands past that. It's the people is more than cars. The community is more than cars. A lot is more than cars. There's probably like at some point I see like on a website like blank, like all the little like traveling things that are blank more than cars, you know.
Oh yeah. Scott Trainer, thanks for weighing in. Looking forward to seeing you in Tampa. By the way, I remember I owe you a text message back. I'll just tell you that live on the show this morning. That's one way. You know where we're going to be every day.
Hang in the comments. You know where to find
community.
Us, you know what I mean?
That's community right there. And so, we're going to be in Tampa. We're going to do a premiere of the show, red carpet, step and repeat banners. We've done the Asodu family reunion last 2 years at Digital Dealer. This year, we're kind of pivoting that to the premiere. Still going to have a really awesome party. We're doing actually a little collab with Digital Dealer to help get more people there. But we have the Tampa Theater rented out. It is gorgeous. It is beautiful. We can fit like probably close to 1,000 people. So, we're going to have a big old show, a big old party. We're working on some swag things that could be really fun. We got it. I don't want to talk about it yet because I'm not fully sure we're going to be able to pull it together. But if we do, it's going to be a little swag, a little retail, a little Asodu, a lot of fun.
Exactly. Well, so Paul, speaking of pulling things together.
Stop. Segue.
Got my trigger pad right on that one.
Let's get into
the Biden administration has officially released the strictest tailpipe emissions regulations in history. The EPA's new standards for light-duty vehicles cover 2027 to 2032 model years. So this is okay. I'm going to save this first comment that I put in here for the last because it's going to be my favorite one. The regulations basically are focusing on grams of carbon dioxide per mile. Right. So like, because there's been a lot of conversation how the miles per gallon is actually benchmarked when it's an EV. Right. You see these numbers that are like, oh, it's 218 miles per gallon. And then another thing comes in and says, well, actually, it's more like 83. So they're moving measurements to grams of carbon dioxide per mile. I still don't fully understand it yet. And I think a lot of people don't understand it. In a Wednesday blog post, the Alliance for Automotive Innovation, this is, an alliance that's formed from OEMs and things like that. Their CEO, John Bozzella, called the EPA's proposal aggressive by any measure. He says, by that, I mean, it sets automotive electrification goals in the next few years that are ... very high. He wrote, I like that. He cites the proposal needs both Biden's 50% zero EV sales target and another goal that the administration already outlined, and says, how does the EPA justify exceeding the carefully considered data-driven goal announced by the administration or in the executive order they had in the most recent national blueprint? Basically saying we had this really thought out thing. Now the EPA is going to go way beyond that when the first one was very thought out and data-driven.
This is what I think. This is what I think, Paul. Paul, someone on the EPA board was watching our live stream last week.
That's definitely not true.
And they heard you say we didn't come here to bunt, and they were like,
challenge accepted.
Check. Let's go.
Maybe, but to put a little icing on that cake, they do say this will save American taxpayers not million, not billion, $1 trillion.
Exactly.
And when was the last time you trusted a time when the government said, no, trust us, we're great at budgeting expenses and savings? So I don't know.
Hey,
trust us, you're going to save $1 trillion.
They don't call this the automotive troublemaker for nothing. You know,
I don't know. I just hear the collective groans coming from both sides of the collective aisle and just the industry. But the reality is the industry has to move, which is a tough thing because you have this.
Is what I think we have to realize is, like, at this point, there's no slowing the train down. It's going that way. So EV education, understanding the moves, understanding what's happening with the EPA and with government regulations on the show floor, in the service drive, and knowing what's coming so that we can educate customers on what's about to come around the bend is extremely important, because this is on the front page of Wall Street Journal. It's on every news channel. And whether your customer's interested in an EV or not, it's a thing that they're looking at and trying to understand. What does this purchase look like? What's my next purchase look like? How does this fit into my daily life? Yep. All of those things are questions that people are going to be asking today, even if they're not buying an EV. So understanding all of that learning on the show floor, extremely important.
Yep. Train can't be stopped until 18 months from now if the administration gets replaced.
Oh, see, there it is. You never know.
It's tough, but we do, like, I fully agree with you though. It's like EV, whether it goes this level of velocity or it slows down, like, it's happening, right? And all those things are still accurate, and we'll see what happens. Hey, Linda, love how we mentioned education on the service drive. That is like, we just double down on that comment.
I am going to double down on that. Check. We'll see it. Okay, so look, on the service drive, the volume of questions that you get about current vehicle and future vehicle is sometimes higher because there's a great amount of trust built up with an advisor and their customer because of the volume of the times that they see
more
them.
Casual it's more casual conversation. Yeah,
exactly. And so it's like, hey, have you seen the things about the EVs? You know, and if you're just like head down and not thinking about this kind of like eyes up a little bit on the service drive, you're going to miss that that opportunity to educate and care for the customer, even in the service lane. So absolutely. Thanks for calling that out. Appreciate it.
I know it. I love it. Yeah. So if you're just listening, the live stream comments are happening today. Speaking of things that are absolutely happening or happened already.
They happen.
So after over 25 years, Capital One, big automotive bank, is winding down their floor plan lending. They're closing the program, but will continue their auto finance operations, citing a renewed focus on their core business. Floor plan lending only comprised about 1% of the bank's commercial business and not considered core to its long-term priorities. So basically, I didn't know this, Kyle, you did, but low interest rates in the 2010s and early pandemic actually allowed dealers to have a profit from floor planning their vehicles because they would be incentivized to take more vehicles on, and that those, floor plan rates would be subsidized. So actually dealers made money from the floor plans. As interest rates started rising in 2018, floor planning shifted back to kind of becoming, a cost. And, you were saying, Kyle, like, you just knew dealers that were making a lot of money via floor planning.
Yeah. Like once the pandemic hit and our turns got really, really fast, we went back into making money from floor planning. So just like an interesting piece out of this story there. Just and this is something that like if you're in the dealership and you don't care about whether or not who your floor plan company is, just know that interest rates and the turn of the vehicles have a significant impact on the bottom line of the expense or revenue that comes from actually keeping vehicles on the lot, because the majority of dealerships don't own those cars for cash. They actually have them lent out through a floor plan expense that bears interest on that car, and the interest graduates as the car stays longer. And that floor plan company also requires to carry interest for that floor plan. And so there's a lot of just like costs that are associated alongside having vehicles on the lot, especially as interest rates are rising. So it kind of makes sense. Like if it's only 1% of your business, interest rates are rising. It's a place where a lot of manufacturers are actually pressing into getting more and more of their dealers on their own floor plan with their own bank, and Cap One isn't the captive lender for any OEM. I can see why, hey, look, we're just going to take our hands off that one, not press the gas on it, push into auto finance and our other ventures. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Hey, and they got to make the move so they can pay for Weezer next year at NADA.
Oh, see,
Capital One will always have a magic moment in my heart, because they put on the Weezer
night.
Concert at NADA. I probably took the best picture I've ever taken in my life of Rivers Cuomo holding his electric guitar up, pointing up at the Weezer sign, and strategically placed above the Weezer sign in my photo.
Cap One logo.
Capital One
was brand on. Like I think they probably had to pay double just to put their logo above the Weezer logo. You know what I'm saying?
I bet they did. I bet they did. Because hey, if you're gonna let the man in on your rock set, well, at least the man's gonna write you a big check. Speaking of brand moves,
Segue
time. It's a good move. The auto industry isn't the only one focusing on a move to electric, Paul. Chipotle is actually taking significant steps towards sustainability by piloting 3 all-electric restaurants powered by renewable energy, including the elimination of gas usage. Couple of the changes. 1, electric grills. They're replacing their gas-fired grills, which could be an interesting, depending on how like that feel and flavor and all that. Procedural changes there.
We'll still make the chicken sizzle. We'll still hear the sizzle when we walk in.
Basically, they're going to be able to reduce energy consumption and carbon emissions. They're going to throw solar panels up on that thing so they can generate renewable clean energy. Heat pump water heaters to replace their gas water heaters. So they're leaning into that electric, being able to take from solar panels. Shading built into the facade of the store, basically allowing, like, if you go to a Chipotle store right now, that thing is all flat. But this reduces the need for AC because you don't have as much sun hitting those glass windows and requiring, because they always have these big glass windows. And then redesigned exhaust hoods. So they're going to have just that's kind of a wild one to me, is like, wait, we can redesign the actual exhaust hood to cut energy by 30 to 35% from a usage. Like, why wouldn't everyone look at that?
Well, I think that a lot of these things are like just a focus on how can we make this more efficiently. And some of these are just like basic mechanical changes, like the hood, right? They can put side panels on it so it focuses the draw on where the smoke's coming from.
There it is.
Makes kind of sense.
Yeah, it's interesting because, you look at this at first glance and it's like, okay, but what does that mean to me as a customer, or especially as someone else in a retail or, industry that sells goods or has a brick and mortar store?
Right, because they said most of the changes you won't even notice, unless you're really looking for them.
Exactly. And so I think the bigger, the bigger thing here is like they're swimming in the stream of major news media. They got a whole bunch of earned media on 3 stores, right? Because they said, hey, this is something that we're doing. This is something we're talking about, thinking about, trying to plan for. And so they're leaning into their marketing and messaging, which Chipotle has already done a really good job at, like focusing on sustainability, focusing on local growers,
organic. Yeah.
Exactly. And so this is just like an extension of that messaging. So I asked, as soon as we said this, I said, Paul, and I'm gonna lead this into you, but I said, Paul, how does this get to, I'm a dealer, I'm an industry partner, I'm someone in the auto industry listening to this story. how does that get to me in what I need to practically be doing based on what I'm seeing these major market players do?
And this is where our friend David Meltzer calls this stage theory. And basically it just because you're doing something or you have to make a change, how can you make it a part of the show? How can you make it something that actually gets the message out? And so dealers installing EV infrastructure, again, back to our first story, like this is on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, of all these other publications. Dealers are making investments in infrastructure.
Yep.
Talk about it, right? Because maybe there's a group of your customers that don't care, right? They're like, oh, whatever. But there is a large group of people who really care. And so for you being able to talk about like, hey, we're installing these chargers, we're a part of this movement, right? Like you like Chipotle, great. We're doing similar things to Chipotle in focusing on this future of sustainability. And so the value that you get, like sometimes you look at the chargers and right now everybody's like, this does not pencil, right? But this is a way you can actually extract a lot more value from what you're doing that doesn't have directly to do.
Like send it to all the local news sources, send it to the newspaper, send them some photos, let them know what you're doing. You could
do a little event around the chargers.
Absolutely.
Get some gold hard hats and shovels.
Yeah, exactly. Like we do that for building a building. This is just an opportunity to say, hey, like this is what we're doing to lean into what's happening in culture. So
for sure.
Well, there's the free one for today. There's the free one.
Oh, today felt like a pretty practical show. I mean, you got to take a couple shots at government, give some marketing tips, talk about Chipotle. I mean, this is a great start to a Wednesday. We hope you have an awesome Wednesday and we hope you join us in Tampa May 2nd.